enter open session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried 7-0. Let me move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Mrs. Phelps, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have no public hearing this evening. Move on to the consent agenda. Dr. Martin.
Good evening. On the consent agenda this evening are the minutes of the January 8th, 2018 regular meeting and the January 12th, 2018 workshop meeting, and donations which are used when customary. Staff asks that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Motion by Ms. Shelley to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Second by Dr. Meyer. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried 7-0 to approve the consent agenda. Please note the informational items, Head Start items, discipline report for December, and items for the March 12th board meeting. Move on to the instructional highlights for this evening. 10.01, Freedom Middle School Orchestra Performance. Mrs. Flinard.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Baker and Dr. Martin. This evening we have Freedom Middle School 8th grade orchestra, which is led by Mrs. Lisa Dobbins. The students before you this evening showcase determination, teamwork, and kindness to one another each and every day in the classroom. And tonight they will perform a piece that's called Guest Soloist, which has become an annual tradition to perform at Smith Station Elementary School at their winter assembly. And acting as a recruiting tool, the piece requires a guest soloist from the crowd of rising fifth graders to try out an instrument for the first time and moments later perform a piece for their school. Today, the ensemble's guest soloist will be a very brave Freedom Middle School principal, Dr. Eric Wright. The ensemble hopes to display how playing a stringed instrument is for anyone and everyone to enjoy.
We'd like to welcome our guest soloist, Dr. Eric Wright. And before he begins,
Let's give the Freedom Middle School Orchestra and their guest soloists another round of applause. And on to 10.02, Libraries of the Future, Mrs. Plenard.
Thank you. Last spring, a collaboration occurred within the instruction department and helped to begin to reinvent our school libraries. In response to the state initiative to establish coding and computational thinking strategies, the instructional technology and teaching and learning departments identified the best place for all students to have access to new, engaging tools and spaces, the library. The American Library Association supports these efforts by outlining these goals for the future of libraries, identifying emerging trends relevant to libraries and communities they serve, promoting future and innovative techniques to help librarians and library professionals shape their future, build connections with experts and innovation thinkers to help libraries address emerging issues. And this evening, we have students from Wilderness Elementary School, Battlefield Elementary School, Thornburg Middle, and Freedom Middle, as well as our library liaisons for elementary and secondary, Mrs. Lizzie Barnes and Mrs. Sarah Downing, to present our Libraries of the Future. We also have Mr. Pete Sakari and Miss Jennifer Baleko.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Baker and Dr. Martin. Tonight we would like to show you some of the ways that we are preparing our students for their future across all grade levels. As the state has released the new profile of a Virginia graduate and the studies that identify the types of jobs that our students will be looking for when they enter the workforce, there has been an emphasis on coding and computational thinking. There have been calls to start teaching these skills to students at a younger age, actually K through 12. So we began to discuss how could we implement this into the curriculum and what would it look like. The Office of Teaching and Learning, the Instructional Technology Resource Specialist, and Instructional Technology worked together to find the best fit for this implementation. We knew we wanted to expose as many students to the tools and the opportunity to learn these skills as we could. We realized that if the tools ended up in an individual classroom in a building, it would limit the number of students that would have an opportunity to use them. We discussed where's the one place that all students have access, and that would give the students the chance to use the different tools that they were provided. The answer to that was the library or media center. So that is where we decided to focus our attention with these new tools.
Mr. Zakari and I were very fortunate in working with two of our great teacher leaders, Mrs. Lizzie Barnes and Mrs. Sarah Downing. They represent 2 of 18 teaching and learning liaisons, which are teacher leaders that really help lift their content. And they work to spearhead the learning behind this for teachers and the collaboration with others in the building to make this happen. So I want to invite them and their students up here today. Come on up. And while they're doing that, we're going to move some of these things out of the way so that they can present.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. My name is Sarah Downing. I'm the secondary library liaison at Freedom Middle School.
And I'm Lizzie Barnes, and I'm the librarian at Wilderness Elementary.
So we have some guests with us as well. We know that traditionally, libraries focused on literacy, research, and books, and we still do that. That's still something we do every day. But we know that as librarians and our libraries in general have to continue to move with education. And so digital literacy and future-ready libraries are at our helm right now, and we have opened our doors to this new initiative. Thanks to the Spotsylvania County Schools Library Ready, Future Ready Libraries initiative, our librarians can better connect their practices, programs, and spaces to educational innovation in their schools. In a future-ready school, all students have equitable access to qualified librarians, digital tools, resources, and books. As you can see, there are 8 components to future-ready libraries. This evening, you will see how we are embracing these components specifically, but not limited to, designing collaborative spaces, building instructional partnerships, empowering students as creators, and facilitating professional learning.
And so to give you an idea of some of the things that we've been incorporating in the library, each elementary and secondary school received a smart interactive flat panel. It's very similar to a smart board, but it's the next level. An interactive whiteboard table. And middle school and elementary school libraries received 30 Chromebooks. And the elementary level received Code and Go Mice, Ozobots, and Cublets, while our high schools received 60 laptops, and both secondary schools received Ozobots, Sphero Spark Plus, and Raspberry Pis. And tonight, we're really lucky to have some students from Wilderness, Battlefield Elementary, Thornburg, Freedom, and Riverbend to join us. They're going to showcase some of the tools that we have. So at this point, if our elementary students would come on up. All right. Our first student is Harmony.
My name is Harmony Jones, and I am 10 years old. I am a 4th grader at Wilderness in Miss Smith's class. Tonight I'm going to show you how to use Hour of Code game to create my own Google logo. Using the Chromebooks from the library, I can log in and use different codes to change the background and create different layers for Google. I can also animate them and give them sounds.
So at this time, Harmony's going to get started, and Khalil's going to tell us about another Hour of Code activity.
Hello, my name is Khalil Fry, and I am 11 years old. I am in the 5th grade at Wilderness, and my teacher is Miss Rose. Today I am going to show you how to use Lego bits and bricks to code. Using the Hour of Code game, I can program the Lego character to move through a maze and to get to a target. I am learning to use block commands to move characters forward and repeat movements.
So Hour of Code is a program that is free to all students in the United States, and it provides free tutorials, and we start typically in the primary grades, kindergarten and 1st grade. They're learning to do block programming, and then as we move up, we use things like Scratch Junior and other JavaScripts, and so that's what Harmony and Khalil are going to show us this evening. And again, it's K-12, and it is free. The Hour of Code really emphasizes their use in the month of December. They have a week-long week where they emphasize students getting an hour of code. So all elementary school students and middle and high school have had at least one exposure to at least an hour of coding through the Hour of Code. And our next student is Alexandra, and she's going to talk to us about Code and Go Mice.
My name is Alexandra Dawson, and I'm 8 years old. I am in 2nd grade at Battlefield Elementary. My teacher is Miss Lee. I'm going to show you how to use Code and Go Mice. You use the commands on top of the mouse to make the mouse move through a maze. You can command the mouse to go to the cheese or a certain block.
And our Code and Go Mice are primarily for our primary students, K1 and 2, but we have found that actually our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders love them also. It's a small mouse tool, and the kids can program it to go certain mazes. And we've also found great connections with putting sight words on the maze, and the kids can program the mouse to get to different words. And our last elementary tool is Cubelets, and Jack is going to talk about that.
Hello, my name is Jack Barnes, and I am 10 years old. I am a fourth grader at Wilderness. My teacher is Mrs. Smith. I am here tonight to tell you about cubelets. They are small cubes that create robots using magnets. My favorite part is making them do different commands based on the way you put them together. Tonight I created a revolving flashlight that uses a motor, a sensor, a rotator, a light, and when you connect the parts, you can control them by a light and by moving your hand closer and further away from the sensor like this.
And some of our things make noise, so I hope that's okay. So again, cubelets are small cubes that when the kids put them together in different variations make different robots. And now Sarah is going to talk to you about some of the items that are available for the middle school and high school level.
My secondary students can come and join me. So we received Ozobots, and we have Rebecca from Thornburg, and of course her librarian, Mrs. Ball, is sitting in the audience. And then we have Nathan from Riverbend with Mr. Moore, and then Mrs. Jackie Keith, the librarian, is here as well. So Rebecca is going to talk to you about Ozobots.
Good evening, members of the school board. My name is Rebecca Waters, and I am an 8th grader at Thornburg Middle School. I am proud to announce that as an 8th grader, I have had many opportunities involving different forms of technology in the library, including Spiros, Raspberry Pi, and Ozobots. Tonight, I am here to speak to you about Ozobots. Ozobots are a very useful form of programming. They can help you promote coding by... Ozobots help you promote coding from an early age. The way Ozobots read the code is...
It's okay.
Ozobots have a sensor on the bottom that allow them to read colors that you put on paper using markers. Ozobots also help promote healthy competition and socializing opportunities between peers using fun, innovative, and engaging possibilities. A main aspect of the Ozobots is that of trial and error. Ozobots can choose its own path when there is a path split, leading to many outcomes even in a simple bit of code. There are many challenges presented by the Ozobots, including that of coding, math, logic, and science. Coding is, of course, a major aspect of the Ozobots, as it uses a sensor to read colors with its sensor. Math. Algorithms within the Ozobots decide paths, read colors, and choose routes when there are path splits. The Ozobot has the ability to choose its own path. Ozobots also promote many approaches of logical thinking to help plan strategies to tackle challenges either presented by a peer or a teacher. Finally, Ozobots can read colors to change how it acts, leading to many different possibilities. The Ozobots can be used in many interactive manners, including that of a decision maker with spokes leading from a central circle with options, leading to a sort of fortune teller. Ozobots have many practical uses, ranging from learning coding at a young age, promoting competition between students, and encouraging growth in many crucial subjects.
So Ozobots, as Rebecca explained, thank you, Rebecca, you can head to your table, can be used with markers and paper, and they read color. It can also be used with programs on tablets, and then there is a web application called Ozo Blockly that you can code and change colors and do more. And the device, really, the bot, it really is limitless. You can use it with any of your subject area, including the library. Thank you, Rebecca. So next we have our Spiro Sparks. They're a lot of fun. I lost my Reagan. So Reagan Bestick from Freedom is joining me today, as well as is Samuel and Nikki from Riverbend. Would you like to talk?
So Spiros are these little ball robots that you can program or drive to do pretty much whatever you want. They dance, they sing, they talk, and they can perform any command that you ask it to. One of the most fun parts about Spiros is that you can build on through your coding experiences. You can start with driving, and then the block programs, and then eventually lead up to typing in your own programs with Spiros.
So you guys can go ahead up. So would you like to speak? Are you comfortable? Okay. So The Spiros are another tool that promote coding. As Reagan said, it can drive, but also you're going to see some advanced coding from these individuals. They can build unique codes and create programs that they design. Now this looks very high-tech, and it is. It can be as far as you want it to go in your mind. Anything you can create, you can do. But please, I don't want you to think that these are just for our higher level learners. These are for any learner. I have students at my school that are a different type of learner, and they love them. And they are using them. So the nice part is that coding just isn't for those gifted students, it's for all of our students. And then we have Raspberry Pis, and we're not talking about something you eat. This is Gavin from Freedom and Ryan from Thornburg.
So the Raspberry Pi. So think back at home with your desktop, that huge 10-pound box that just sits underneath your desk and you have no idea what it really does. That's what this is, just a whole lot smaller. So with this, you hook it up to your monitor, your keyboard, your mouse, and it does pretty much the same things.
It has everything that a normal computer has, and it can run almost any program. So it allows us to program with Scratch, Python, and allows us to play games and use it in different ways. It helps us code and program in different ways, and it forces us to problem solve. So whenever me and one of my friends were trying to set it up, it was very difficult to set up in the first place, which forced us to work together and problem solve to figure out how to make it work. And it really helped us just figure out how code works and helped us get further in learning.
So they're going to show you how it hooks up, and they have some pictures and such. They're great. I will say that Gavin drew the short straw at Freedom. I was very busy with all these different initiatives, and Mrs. Paul as well. And so Gavin, literally, I gave him the UPS box and said, good luck. And I came back a week later to my library conference room, and he had all the monitors and keyboards. He said, you're ready to go. So he makes my heart sing sometimes. So one of the best parts about all of these coding opportunities is the professional learning that we had. We were able to partner with Stafford County Middle School. Nathan Seckinger came and did a Raspberry Pi professional learning for us on January 29th. We had librarians, ITRTs, gifted resource teacher, ITAs, and we were able to learn firsthand from a Raspberry Pi certified librarian about Raspberry Pis. And boy, did the learning take off, and what a benefit for our students. So having those networkable opportunities for us that we've created, and as a professional network, has really been beneficial for us to share our learning and the support we've received. We also have those smart interactive flat panels. They can be used collaboratively. It isn't just a smartboard you touch. It has two users that can touch at the same time. You can do Smart Lab on them. The smartboard really is advanced. You can connect wirelessly. You can share the board. The possibilities really are endless with it. Every school library received one. We also received interactive whiteboard tables, which have just been a joy to get to use. They are touch-sensitive tables. The projector makes it touch-sensitive, and anything they touch, it's like a giant touch screen. It's at their fingertips. So the students use Destiny, they create things, everything from digital design, they use the Google Apps on there. It really has started to take off, and we'll continue to learn and grow with each of these program devices. And then Lizzie, Chromebooks.
And one of the greatest things of all that have come out of this is the use of Chromebooks and laptops in the library. And we have been able to obviously do a lot of the coding that you've seen tonight, but we've also been able to increase the use of our online library catalog through students being able to get online to look up books, ebooks, databases. And we also have kids in kindergarten who are using Google Classroom because we get able to get everyone on. And then, of course, the Hour of Code. And our last thing is the 3D printers.
So we've had 3D printers for a few years, but many of us received additional 3D printers. We were lucky enough. Boy, are they always running. And they really allow students to create anything and build it. So they can take a three-dimensional design in their mind, put it into Tinkercad, for example, and create it. One year, my science teacher decided that she wanted them to make three-dimensional bugs. 120 of those puppies printing. So that was an adventure. But our students really have really enjoyed 3D printing. Gavin is bringing down a little treat that we have 3D printed for you. And so if you'd like to see Tinkercad, you are welcome to. We invite all of our school board members, everyone up front, to come down and join our students if you would like to see some of these coding items firsthand. Thank you so much. Just drive, it's okay. Thank you.
Takes a little bit.
Awesome job, great job.
If you don't point it exactly straight, it'll try and drive off. It has. If you don't,
It's good, trial and error. It is, it really is.
well, you got lucky your dad too.
That's all good. But I do love it. Well, what do you think, Mr. IT? Is this good? I mean, all kinds of things. And they on that one. Awesome.
They're cheap and you can do just about anything with them. There's a guy I know went to a conference not too long ago, and he took a room like this and he put tons of stuff in there and he automated everything. So like the robot dogs dance, the lights and the lines go up by themselves, and all he has to do is walk in and say good morning.
Yep, pretty amazing.
And he did it with code. Oh, there you go.
Wow, nice job. Winner.
All right, come on, Camille.
What's that? Oh.
I know it wasn't
Good
the
job.
first time.
Good job, guys. Yeah, I think that's what Carol's just asking.
Okay.
That's great. Okay. That's what you just said.
Okay.
Wrap it up.
Awesome. We are ready to wrap up, guys. So if you guys want to take your seats, if you're all finished.
Yeah, we're gonna start wrapping it up. You guys got that?
Yep.
Thank you to all the presenters this evening. You guys were fantastic.
Thank you.
We could have played with those all night, but I think we have to work now.
No problem.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
everybody. And those treats are yours to take home from the kids.
Okay, we are on to recognitions and awards. We're on starting with 11.01, Fine Arts Recognition. Mrs. Fenard.
Thank you. We are celebrating the outstanding student artwork from 8 of our schools. This month, we are showing artwork from Brock Road Elementary School, art teacher Rebecca Baring, Cedar Forest Elementary School, art teacher Sarah Ramey, Chancellor Elementary, art teacher Caitlin LaFaro, Riverview Elementary, art teacher Ann Flews, Smith Station Elementary, art teacher Chelsea Rogers, Spotsylvania Middle School, art teacher Ramona Morris, Thornburg Middle, Letitia McMillan is the art teacher, and Riverbend High School art teacher Michelle Treacle. And those students were recognized at an event before the board meeting began.
Thank you. Ms. Flenard, could you move on to 11.02, Superintendent Art Award?
Yes, ma'am. The January and February Superintendent's Art Award for Outstanding Visual Art goes to Olive Clausen, Chancellor Elementary School. Olive, Olive is in the 3rd grade, and her artwork will hang in Dr. Baker's office this month. We would like to thank Olive and her art teacher, Caitlin LaFaro, and recognize them for their outstanding accomplishment. Congratulations, Olive. And if we have any of Olive's family or friends here, if they could stand to be recognized as well, please.
Thank you. 11.03, Division Spelling Bee winners.
Thank you. We had an amazing contest this year. The 2018 Division Spelling Bee was held on Saturday, January 7th. Students representing 17 elementary schools and all 7 middle schools participated in this year's Spelling Bee. The event was coordinated by Shauna Ashton and Tracy Prater. Many thanks go to the staff who assisted with the competition, and without them it would not have been possible. And a special thank you to Mr. Baron Braswell, who was the master of ceremonies for the afternoon, and also Miss Catherine Letelier, who was the pronouncer. The first place winner of this competition will advance to the 13th Annual Freelance Star Regional Spelling Bee that will be held on Saturday, March 17th at 10 a.m. at James Monroe High School. The regional winner will be eligible to participate in the 91st Annual Scribs National Spelling Bee at the Gaylord National Resort at National Harbor in Maryland on May 27th through June 1st. In the event that our first place winner is not able to attend, the runner-up will represent our school division. And it is with great pleasure that we recognize this year's first place and runner-up winners for the 2018 Division Spelling Bee. And when I call your name, if you would please come forward. Our first place winner, Samantha Ho from Thornburg Middle School. And our runner-up, Daniel Fordham from Freedom Middle School. And And I can tell you, having been part of the spelling bee, these are very familiar faces. These are some really amazing spellers. I can be very honest to say that many of the words they were spelling I didn't know were words. It was amazing. Congratulations to both of you. If we have any of our family and friends here for Samantha and Daniel, if you could stand to be recognized as well, please. Congratulations.
Thank you, and congratulations to you, too. Moving on to 11.04, Cortland Elementary Yearbook wins Life Touch Yearbook Showcase Award.
Thank you. Each year, Life Touch National School Studios hosts their Life Touch Yearbook Showcase Contest to recognize great yearbooks and the schools that create them. Yearbooks are reviewed based on the elements of theme, creativity, design, photography, and writing. And awards presented in the following categories: elementary school yearbooks, middle and junior high school yearbooks, and high school yearbooks, with enrollments greater than 1,000 and high school yearbooks with enrollment less than 1,000. This year, we are pleased to share that Cortland Elementary received second place in the contest, and we would like to recognize Jill Bates, Cortland Elementary School's yearbook coordinator, for her dedication to this project, and I think you better keep up the good work. Ms. Bates has been assigned yearbook coordinator until time, for all time. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Moving on to 11.05, 2017-18 Meritorious Budget Award. For the past 9 years, the Association of School Business Officials International, ASBO, has awarded Spotsylvania County Public Schools the ASBO's Meritorious Budget Award, MBA. We are pleased to share that once again, we have received the award for the 2017-18 annual budget. The Meritorious Budget Award program promotes and recognizes excellence in school budget presentation and enhances school business officials' skills in developing, analyzing, and presenting a school system budget. After review by professional auditors, the award is conferred only on school divisions that have met or exceeded the program's stringent criteria. The award represents significant achievement by Spotsylvania County Public Schools and reflects the commitment by the finance staff, school and department bookkeepers, as well as school and department administrators to achieve the highest standards of school budgeting. Therefore, the following staff are recognized for their contributions in this initiative: LaShawn Gaines, Chief Financial Officer; Marcia Stevens, Director of Budget and Payroll; Philip Trayer, Director of Finance; Bridget Smith Hurd, Senior Financial Analyst; Melissa Webster, Administrative Assistant; Doreen Flint, Accounting Technician; Leah Underwood, Program Analyst. Congratulations to all of you. Job well done.
And Dr. Baker, if you would continue with recognition of school board members, 11.06.
The Virginia School Boards Association has designated February as School Board Member Appreciation Month. At tonight's meeting, the school board members are being recognized for their hard work and the crucial role they play in our schools and in our community. Their actions and decisions affect the present and future lives of our children. Board members devote countless hours to help ensure a quality education that will lead our students to success. And board members will receive a certificate of recognition from the School Boards Association. Also this evening, several board members are being recognized for their participation in the Virginia School Boards Association's Academy sessions, as well as through governance and service activities. This recognition is based on a member's level of participation over a 2-year period of time. And I'll just conclude by thanking each of you. As superintendent, I know the staff and the community join me in thanking you for all the many things that you do that folks would never know about, and all the hours that you spend trying to make sure that you are putting our school division in the best position to be successful, not only now but in the future. So thank you for your dedication. Thank you for your support, and I hope that you enjoy at least a little bit of time to appreciate yourselves. Thank you.
And moving on to 11.07, the Virginia School Boards Association designated the week of February 12th, 2018 as Board Clerk Appreciation Week. At tonight's meeting, we are honored to recognize the School Board Clerk, Dr. Dennis Martin, and the Deputy Clerk, Mrs. Patricia Bowler, for their role in assisting school board members, the superintendent, and the school division. From the school board, thank you very much for your service. And that brings us to item 12, public comments. Dr. Martin.
The public comment segment of our board meetings is a time to receive recommendations, suggestions, and concerns and comments from the general public. Each speaker is allotted 5 minutes, and we ask that you clearly state your name, address, and/or voting district for the board. A speaker may request additional time from the board should one's 5-minute allotment expire. We ask that you keep your comments focused on the issues and that all speakers maintain a level of decorum and mutual respect for one another. To ensure that everyone hears you loud and clear, we also ask that you speak directly into the microphone when you come to the podium. Madam Chair, we don't have any speakers that signed up at the present time.
Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to address the board this evening? Yes, Mrs. Palmer.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Palmer. I reside at 9915 Grass Market Court. I just wanted to step up tonight and say, over the past couple of weeks, I've been riding along with you, coming to meetings, watching online, reading everything I can get my hands on about the budget, and I wanted to commend you on the 60 positions. I'm very excited about that. I think many of the challenges that our schools face are directly related to understaffing. And so I'm excited to see those. I'm especially excited to see the social workers and counselors because I think that's a big area of need. I wanted to note that I've encountered a lot of data over the past couple weeks, and I was an English major, so numbers are not necessarily my thing. But I'm actually excited about that because we finally have some data from the Evergreen study to go along with our passionate pleas for funding for public education. But I think that there is a great opportunity for parents and taxpayers to engage in this process, but there's a wall there. And that wall is in some of the terminology and the things that you all understand or are coming to understand, and the things that Ms. Gaines, who I think is a genius, her knowledge is dizzying. So I'd like to encourage you all as board members to maybe put out some information about some of the terminology and some of the real-life scenarios that come with this budget. I think in the area of the 2% versus 4%, you might have a little bit of a PR problem, because only recently, and at the end of the last meeting, Ms. Gramp's comments helped me to understand that that solution will positively impact many more people, more than 2%. And will bring them to where they need to be. So I'd like to encourage you as board members to communicate with your constituents and help them to understand, so that we can also advocate on behalf of the budget. So that is all I have to say tonight. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience who did not sign up that wishes to address the board?
Good evening, Board, Dr. Baker, Dr. Martin, and Mrs. Gaines, my good friend. My name is Catherine Dennis. I live at 7506 Chancellor Road in the Chancellor District. And I came here tonight happy about part of what you've proposed, but not so happy and concerned about your employees on other parts that are in this proposal. Full disclosure, I am a member of the CBRC, but what I'm saying tonight is my opinion as a taxpayer, okay? So it's, great that you're gonna try and do at least a 2%. I think your 4%, although I wish we could do it, and we could do it for everyone, not only here, but in the county, that is going to cause you a PR problem. And I also hope it doesn't cause you a, kind of like if you read something and it seems like this is totally off base, then, I hope that the other part doesn't get discounted. The most troubling thing about what has been brought forward, as far as I am concerned, is the change in the health benefits and the premiums. A para and a bus driver that have their families on that rich plan, as it's called, their insurance is going to go up $145 a month. That may be easy to absorb if you're one of the administrators that's making above 10% above market, but it is going to be crippling to those people. Furthermore, I know most of you have never worked for a school system, but let me tell you how it works. That new premium will go into effect July 1. Those employees will not have an opportunity to drop down to that lower level until open season, which is usually September or October. So those employees that are going to be sort of increased without even having an opportunity. I mean, if they have a family coverage and that is too much, and that's really going to hurt their monthly budget, and they have elected to go down to the lower premium, there's going to be a couple of months that they're not going to be able to do that. So for those of you that have never worked in a school system, am I not right about that, Ms. Shelley? Your premiums don't start July 1? Well, then that's good. That's good, because that happened to me. I am a retired educator, but from a different county. And I know what it was like when our premiums went way up. I chose to drop down, but I didn't have to go from Plan 1 to Plan 3. I could go from Plan 1 to Plan 2 to make that gradual. I agree with what Mr. Braswell said about educating the employees about you either, you're paying it up front whether you access it or not, and that lower plan might work out better for you in the long run, but that's a pretty big jump. So that's kind of one of my other concerns. I do have a concern with the 4% each year for 3 years. I just don't think that it's, and I was a teacher. 4% would be great if that teacher doesn't have the health insurance. I mean, that's all gravy. And I guess I'm disappointed that you've never presented the Evergreen study to the Board of Supervisors. As a matter of fact, it's never been presented to you. And so we're seeing it the way that you've chosen to weave it into this
Mr. Dennis,
suggestion. Sorry.
forgive me
Okay.
for interrupting, but I want to let you know time has expired. Would you like to request additional time from the board?
Just a minute to wrap up.
Madam Chair?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
Anyway, please think about your employees. I'm sorry you got, what I've seen is not a proposed budget. What I've seen are 2 PowerPoints. I'm not seeing numbers. And I just spent 6 hours up at a Stafford School Board meeting where they have the proposed budget with the numbers. And also be careful on the reallocations, from my perspective. Thank you for serving, all of you. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you, Mrs. Gaines. Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the audience that wishes to address the board?
Still on a printer cartridge. I feel like we're dating. Like I see you guys every Monday, and we should go out to dinner or something. I'm Andy Swope, again, Battlefield District, and so thanks again for our little weekly meeting that we have here. I had the opportunity to watch and rewatch the meeting from last month, and that's why I'm here tonight. I've had a lot of thoughts kind of rolling around my head over a 30-day period, so I hope you'll be patient with me as I kind of hop around. It occurs to me that in this area, and I've lived here for about 12 years, that the thing that seems to get the most attention is volume. Not facts or due process or a desire to be proactive members of our community, but just be the loudest voice in the room. Watching the orchestra earlier, it kind of brought a quote from Seth Avett, who is a musician, who basically says it's really easy to confuse power with volume, but as you get older, you realize that power comes from character. And so I think that it's really easy to think that the general temperature of this county is one of negative. And so just as I spoke about on Monday, I feel incredibly grateful to be a part of this county. I'm incredibly grateful that my children have been a part of these schools. One came up completely from 2nd grade, and the other started kindergarten here. And I'm thankful to the administrators and the educators and the support staff, and you, Dr. Baker, and you, the school board, for helping to teach, support, and advocate for my kids. Every year, you guys are faced with increasing demands from the state and the federal level, all while being, and you have to plan your budget every year, and all while being told that you somehow padded the budget with some sort of imaginary fluff. It's really a thankless job, so I actually came up tonight to thank you for what you do, and to thank all the educators and administrators in the room. What you do is making a huge difference every single day, and in many ways that I'm sure you don't even realize. My child comes home every day happy. She has challenges, she has bad days, she has good days, but she comes home every day happy. So I say this with all sincerity. I thank you for what you've done for our county. And my gratitude is not intended to diminish anyone else's experience. I know that there are opportunities for growth and legitimate areas of concern in this county, and there's definitely room for improvement. I know my family has experienced challenges with teachers and classmates over the years. And as in all things, I think the best way for there to be growth is for all stakeholders to be actively involved in making changes. Coming here, speaking out, connecting with teachers and administrators, and empowering our children to advocate for themselves and become engaged. These are all productive means of solving our problems. In a perfect world, our responsibility doesn't end on election day. It is our responsibility to be proactive every day, and sitting on the sidelines or even venting on a nameless, faceless social media page isn't going to help solve any of these problems. It's easy to sit behind a computer and yell into the void, which I do often, but it's harder to be a part of a solution, and it's time for all of us to become productive members of our larger school community. We are better when we find solutions to these challenges, which reinforce successes within our school system. Like I said, jumping around, finally, and disconnected to any of my previous comments, I do want to thank you for making the much-needed adjustments to our school calendar. I really appreciate that the previous board members, the 6 of you that were here before, took the opportunity to shift the start and finish dates of our school year. No more missing midterms for snow days, a clean break between first and second semesters, and for those of us with kids in college, it makes that family time much more cohesive. So one short summer out of an entire school career is a small price to pay for that change. And I know that making that decision has been difficult and riddled with complaints, but this parent is incredibly thankful. So that's all. And I have one more thing to say, Mr. Eichenberg, go Rockets. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to address the board? Seeing none, we'll move to 12.02, board member comments. Is there a board member that wishes to comment? Mr. Braswell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As in terms of my comments for the budget, I'll reserve that for when we address the budget. I just wanted to thank the school division for the great spelling bee that was put on. It was a great event. If you haven't had an opportunity to watch a spelling bee, I would challenge you next year to come and watch and look at these young people perform under extreme pressure and duress. As some of those words were called out, and I had the distinct privilege, I guess, in some ways, to say that was correct. I said it in a way, I kind of felt like Alex Trebek. I wanted to say as though I knew it was correct, but I had a cheat sheet. And they performed magnificently. And to the champion, our champion, and our runner-up are going to represent us well in the regional competition. I was really honored to do that. I will use any influence that I can for next year to be able to maintain my seat as moderator. So I'm putting my dibs in now for that. And with that being said, I also want to congratulate Mr. Keith Wolf and those that are getting ready to prepare us for the second annual Division Chess Tournament that's going to be held on the 3rd of March at Post Oak Middle School. Last year, we had our first chess tournament, and the thing about the chess tournament is we have an opportunity to celebrate students for their analytical thinking and their strategic thinking. And no matter what discipline that we're engaged in life, it requires strategic and analytical thinking. And so we need to celebrate those students as well. And so if you have a young person that's interested in playing chess, have them sign up for the tournament. It's a great treat. They have plenty of awards, plenty of opportunities for young people to express themselves through the game of chess, and it's an educational experience. That's what I would consider once in a lifetime. So I want to thank Mr. Wolf in advance for the success of that second annual chess tournament, and I'm looking forward to future chess tournaments, and I plan to be there as well. I put a challenge out to the division. I'm still waiting to find out the outline on a Iron Chef competition of some sort. I think that it's a great opportunity for us to display our Career and Technical Center and the things that we do. We understand that career and technical training is very important, and we need to put the spotlight on Spotsylvania County's career and technical training. Not just because of the cooking, if you will, or the culinary expertise, but the workforce is changing in such a way that we need to be ahead of the curve, and we need to start planning as a board and as a division to ensure that Spotsylvania County students have the best opportunities when it comes to career and technical training. So that being said, I yield my time, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Dr. Meyer, I believe you had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I also wanted to give thanks to the staff for an excellent dinner in School Board Appreciation Month, because they go out of their way on this particular board meeting, the first board meeting in February, with homemade minestrone and chicken noodle and pasta, salad, and a lot of goodies for desserts. So with that, thanks for staff for really going out of your way and making it such an enjoyable time. And to our middle school, Freedom Middle School Orchestra students for their performance, and quite a challenge for Dr. Eric Wright to step up and play in front of all of us. I said, you can have it, fella. Much appreciated. And for our spelling bee winners, I want to say thanks for televising it, because I wasn't able to be here, but I was able to watch it while being on the treadmill. I mean, you can't get any better than that. Exercise and watch the spelling bee. The kids were fantastic. With that, thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Blake?
I'd just like to have our violin soloist invited back one of our meetings and play a solo. He didn't have an opportunity to do that, and we look forward to that. Thank you.
Any other board member comments for now? Ms. Shelley?
I just wanted to make a comment that, and this is just informational item, that we did get a presentation for the Evergreen study. Just a reminder to the audience, the presentation was May 15th, that we did receive the presentation from the people who did the Evergreen study, so I'm guessing they're Evergreen, but I can't remember everything. So, but they did present to us on May 15th of last year. Thank you.
Any other board member comments? Okay, well, we'll then move on to 12.03, superintendent's comment.
Thank you, Ms. Graham. I will also wait until the action item for the board's consideration of the proposed budget for approval this evening, and at that time I would like to, hopefully we won't take too long to get to that, so that I can open with some comments that are not only setting the stage for your discussion tonight and what's in the cover sheet, but also for, in reference to some of the feedback that you have received not only this evening, but have continued to receive. I want to, and I don't do this very often anymore with comments, but I just want to thank Katrina Negley and the folks that all the art teachers that just bring life to our building here, and just the artwork is fantastic. And I at first thought I was doing something for the students by letting them take a picture with me, and I learned really after doing it once that they're really doing it for me. I'm not doing it for them, and it just really makes my night, it makes my month, and I want to thank the parents and the students because you are the inspiration behind all that we do, even if that's not always told. I also want to thank the Freedom Middle School Orchestra this evening, who just did a remarkable job, and again speaks to the quality of the performing arts that we have, as well as the visual arts. And again, so proud that we can begin our meetings that way. I had requested that this evening's instructional highlight be brought forward soon, and I want to thank both Lizzie and Sarah for facilitating that, as well as all of the students. But I hope that it will stimulate each of our board members as you go into the schools. I find myself, and this is truly one of those moments where it's the bottom up, not the top down. Our librarians our libraries are on fire, and I mean that in a good way. They are not, if you think of the traditional library where it needs to be quiet and there's just a lot of reading materials, what you saw and were engaged in this evening, and thank you for engaging in it, is what you're drawn to when you go into our schools now. It is the hub of innovation. They are the places of student creativity and students to produce, regardless of the age, regardless of their as you heard tonight, their learning styles or their learning levels. And I do find myself that's one of the first places I want to go when I visit any school. And so I want to thank them for their leadership, as well as our instructional team for continuing to provide them with the tools and the support to continue to expand that effort. And I'll withhold any other comments other than at the next school board meeting, I did want to make sure the board was aware that Mr. Upperco, Executive Director of Operations, myself, and maybe a couple of others, will do a follow-up report to you regarding what you had heard in October from Mosley Architects, who was conducting the study on our facilities and our projecting our enrollments. And as we continue to look at our enrollments throughout our school division, but particularly at the high school with Massaponax High School, want to provide an update in March. And at that time, there could be a recommendation in terms of pathways for the board to go forward that would be both in line with what Mosley had recommended in terms of areas for consideration, but also in terms of our current policies and regulations, making sure that we can present to you how the board and the staff may engage in the process of looking at our school capacities and making decisions in the future. Another aspect of that, though we'll try not to make it too long in March, is to probably provide another glimpse at a vision for our future in terms of the high school level. And that would be to look at where we'd like to see our high schools go as far as specialty centers, and in the future, more and more choice in terms of programs and pathways. So I just wanted to give you that alert so that you could prepare to receive that in March. Thank you.
We'll move on to item 13.01, Board Committee Reports. Does anybody have something they would like? Dr. Meyer?
Madam Chair, and for the sake of the board, the Joint Fleet Maintenance Steering Committee met on January the 18th and took a look at reviewing operations, the CIP budget concerns, and a kind of a new topic is to explore how fleet services can help the county with the disposal of retired surplus vehicles. The county has a problem. They brought it to Fleet Services, and that is an item that Fleet Services is looking at as a county-wide school division kind of project. So just to bring everybody up to speed, that was a very important meeting, and we had a very good discussion on that. And the second item, bringing everyone sort of in the know, that met with Jeremiah Hansen, who is the chair of the CBRC, and one of his committee members, Les Inbody, met with our IT staff on, I think it was February 4th or 5th. It was a Monday. We met for an hour, and I lost my note here, but I can remember a little bit of that. Basically to get receive some understanding of how technology and IT, not information technology, but instructional technology, is guided and directed through the 6-year plan, through our whole plan, strategic plan, gives the guidance and direction as to how technology is expected to be integrated within our instructional program. So we spent an hour answering questions and exchanging ideas. It was a very productive meeting. With that, I yield the floor. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Blaine has a committee report.
I attended the Career and Tech Education Advisory Committee on Thursday, February 8th, and it's very appropriate actually tonight for covering the things that we did cover and the comments that have been made. And I'm really going to just go through very quickly the agenda of that meeting because it kind of gives us the answer. And we had a report under new business and the discussion about the Hanover Regional Governor's School for Career and Technical Advancement program that's taking place. And it ties in very much. It's obviously one of our governor's schools in the state. They talked about how do you create excellence awards, how do we set up programs for our students so that they can see progress and be motivated to learn. We talked about the Skills USA update by Mr. McLeod, and he outlined the competition locally, statewide, and nationally that's going to just getting going now. And of course, the Skills USA deals with a whole range of technical programs, educational things that it enlarges upon everything that takes place in our Spotsylvania County Technical Center. We talked about the STEM science, STEM, engineering, mathematics discussion about that again ties in with the learning, where we're going, the kind of problems that our kids have to master if they're going to move on into our society. We talked about 3 new course proposals, for example, veterinarian science, a new program for 2019 and 20, and maybe the outstanding one this particular time was on cybersecurity fundamentals. And this is a growing area. If you recognize, I've heard speakers talk about 20 and 30,000 jobs available today in the state of Virginia. No employees trained to take them. They start off at $80,000 a year, and that underlines this whole business of cybersecurity. It's a very fascinating discussion. We talked about career explorations in the middle school, and this turned out to be a good springboard for a presentation by Denise Talley, who's from the Germanna Community College. And she was talking about one of the problems that they have as a student coming to college has an idea of the career he'd like to take, so he selects a range of studies for his first year. He finishes a year, and suddenly he said, instead of going into Program A, I'm going to go into Program B. And she said so often some of those first-year studies that they have taken are no longer applicable or required. In her comments, as she was talking about Germanna and the counseling that is necessary, she was trying to outline for us, and I'm not the pro in this area, making choices of their first year of study, exploration college, so that regardless of where they go after that first year, those studies that they have mastered are going to be valid in moving ahead. She also talked a little bit about she's a Dean of Professional and Technical Studies at Germanna, Denise Talley, and she talked briefly about dual enrollment, which I'm vitally interested in, and I think most of us are. And if we can expand that program, we're going to save the folks in our community a lot of money. If a student's able to have a full year of college credit before they get to college, think about being the parent or the student and having to, you've saved a whole year of college tuition is a good hunk of cash. We also had some outstanding reports from the several committees that we have reporting regularly: agriculture, business, family and community services, marketing, technology again, trade and industry. And if you think about all the things I've said just in the last couple of minutes, this is a very broad range of studies and knowledge that we want and that our society needs, and that we're in a position to work at it. And I'd like to compliment Mr. Wolf and his team for putting together a good program. And that particular meeting that we had last Thursday morning was very animated, and we started at 8 and we finished at 10, and we could have kept going longer if anybody had time, and which we did not. Thank you.
Any other board committee reports? Ms. Shelley?
I just have an announcement that we will have a food task force meeting Thursday, so if anybody has any questions or anything for me, just to let me know.
Any other board committee reports? I have an announcement that I forgot to make in the board member comments, and that's a Culture a la carte event featuring arts and works world languages, March 3rd at 11 a.m. at Spotsylvania High School. So are invited to attend that. And we will move on to action items. 14.01, approval of resolution supporting Read Across America Day in Spotsylvania County Public Schools. Mr. Mudd.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Baker, Dr. Martin. On March 2nd, 2018, Spotsylvania County Public Schools students are asked to join millions of their peers across the country to celebrate Dr. Seuss's birthday and the 19th annual Read Across America Day. It is expected that more than 45 million readers will join in this celebration. Our elementary schools will be celebrating Dr. Seuss's birthday with reading activities throughout the week. It's our recommendation that the school board approves the Read Across America resolution as presented and authorizes the chair to sign accordingly.
I would like to make the motion to approve Read Across America Day.
I will second that.
Motion by Ms. Shelley to approve Read Across America Day, and second by Mr. Blaine. Any discussion? Mr. Blaine?
I would just like to say that reading is one of the major skills that kids have to have. And on March 3rd, I know our Spotsylvania library system at Salem Church Library has a program to do the same thing, but they're having people come in and read to young children. And as I talk to people and as I talk on this speaker, and I hope that people looking at this at home, if they have preschool kids and young children, that they read to their children every single day of the week. The American Library has a program right now saying they would like to have every child by the time they get to kindergarten have had an exposure to 1,000 books. And if you're going to come anywhere close to that, you got to start on the way home from the hospital with that baby with a book almost. Thank you.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0 to approve the resolution for Read Across America Day. Thank you, Mr. Mudd. On to 14.02, approval of resolution in support of African American History Month. Going to read the proposed resolution. Resolution in support of African American History Month, Spotsylvania County Public Schools. Whereas African American History Month is intertwined with the development of America, and its study provides an essential perspective of life in America today, and whereas knowledge of African American history enhances personal and intellectual development and advances communication among individuals and the family, the school, the community, the state, the nation, and the world. And whereas African American men and women have made significant contributions to the growth, prosperity, and character in America, and whereas African American history is promoted by the cooperative efforts of educators, parents, businesses, local governing bodies, industry, and members of the community, and professional organizations of all backgrounds. Now therefore be it resolved that the month of February is to be recognized as African American History Month in Spotsylvania County Public Schools.
I move to approve that amendment or resolution.
A second.
Motion by Mr. Blaine to approve the resolution, second by Mr. Braswell. Any discussion? Mr. Braswell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I say this every year, and I think it's worth saying again. African American history is an integral part of American history. You can't study American history without understanding the contributions of African Americans in all aspects of American society, whether it be politics, agriculture, military, or a variety of different areas. African American contributions have been many, varied, and significant. To understand the importance of African American contributions, I say this all the time, that it's not a salad bowl. It's not a bunch of pieces put together and they all are individually separated. The African American experience in terms of its contributions to our society are like a big pot of stew. They've been cooked in, and have been cooked in such a way that if one ingredient is missing, you will find that the stew doesn't taste very American. And so I just say, not only is African American history extremely important and an integral ingredient in the American experience, and so are the contributions from many varied different ethnic groups in this country. And we should celebrate them all because we're all one America, and we have to start thinking again as though we're one America. So thank you, Madam Chair, for giving me an opportunity to comment.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. On to 14.03, approval of revisions to School Board Regulation BDDC-R agenda format. We discussed this at the last workshop, and it was included in the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the changes to the agenda format?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Motion by Dr. Meyer,
I will second it.
second by Dr. Blaine. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried 7-0.
Thanks for awarding me a new degree that I didn't know I had.
Oh, sorry. We have a lot of those honorary titles around here. 14.04, approval of the 2018 committee appointments and assignments for the board committees. Those are attached to the agenda and were distributed. Can we have a motion to approve the committee assignments?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Motion by Dr. Meyer. Second by Ms. Shelley. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. 14.05, VSBA Excellence in Workforce Readiness Award Submission Approval. Mrs. Daniels.
Good evening. I'm here to talk to you about the Virginia School Board Association who is currently accepting submissions for their first annual Excellence in Workforce Readiness Award. This award seeks to recognize Virginia school divisions who have achieved excellence in workforce readiness through an innovative program within the school community. Staff is asking for approval to submit the Regional Workforce Readiness event, Get Your Game On, that was spearheaded by the Office of Communications and Community Engagement. And the Get Your Game On event was featured last summer as a roundtable topic at the VSBA Conference on Education and at a breakout session at the National School Public Relations Association Annual Conference. Approximately 350 high school seniors and juniors attended the event from 13 schools and 5 local school divisions of the area, which included Spotsylvania, Stafford, Caroline, the city of Fredericksburg, and Westmoreland. In addition, more than 40 local businesses participated in the event, conducting mock interviews for the students. So at this time, we would like to recommend that the school board approve the Get Your Game On event, Workforce Readiness event, to be submitted to VSBA for consideration for the Excellence in Workforce Readiness Award.
I would like to make the motion to do what you said.
And I'll second that, what you said.
Motion from Ms. Shelley and a second by Dr. Meyer to approve the award submission approval for the VSBA Excellence in Workforce Readiness Award. Any discussion? Ms. Shelley.
I would like to say, this is awesome. I listened to your roundtable discussion at the summer VSBA conference, and I was thoroughly impressed. And just seeing the write-up, I think we should win. So yes, I'm so excited about this.
Since you brought it up, I use it as an example 3 times in the last 2 months. So in how we are doing amazing things in Spotsylvania to get kids workforce ready. So congratulations as well. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ames. Mr. Trayer and Mr. Hockaday, would you like to join us for the Cortland renovation project?
All right, Madam Chair, members of the board, thank you for receiving the bids for the second time. In the month of December, we did vote to non-award so we could go back and sharpen our pencils a little bit, and we did. With a base bid of $28,600,000 and an add-alt for 6 additional classrooms of $1,333,000, with a combined bid of $29,933,000, we are recommending the board take action to approve Gulf Seaboard general contractors for the renovation in the add-alt of Cortland High School.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Motion by Dr. Meyer, second by Mr. Braswell to approve the recommended action. Any discussion? Mr. Braswell.
Thank you. Obviously, the cost was the primary criteria. Just talk in terms of the proposed awardee of this contract and their experience and these type of endeavors.
Gulf Seaboard is a very large company. We've done, they've done business here in the past. We've done several projects with them. This is a project that is in their wheelhouse, so to speak. Not only new buildings, but remodeling and that type of project. We've had very good experiences with them in the past. I'm excited that they were one of the bidders and that they will be awarded the contract. Yes, sir.
How much will we be saving from our original bid?
Base bid to base bid.
From last time.
From last time, approximately $678,000 with the add-alt $42,000. We looked at the contingency reserves and we reduced that by $1.2 million for a combined savings of $1,973,917.
With no change in scope of work, or yes?
Minor changes in scope.
And can you elaborate just a little bit more for me, please?
We had some screening This is one example. We had some screening that will be on the roof. The screening originally was planned to go all the way around the top of the building. It really, on the backside, is not needed. We didn't feel that the view from that area will be seen very much, so we eliminated some of that. We took a different look at the lockers. We made some changes on the locker count. Beyond that, it's very minimal. There wasn't a lot of room in this project to make any cuts, so we didn't want to make any changes that would vary from what the stakeholders were used to and had been accustomed to seeing throughout this process, and we felt the process was very good and everybody had a chance to have input, so we didn't want to get away from that.
And then from that, we can presume that aesthetics and comfort and student transfer is all intact based on original intent?
Yes, sir. All the major components are still there.
Sure.
All the aspects as far as safety and the flow, the instructional areas, and the intent of the building upgrade are still the same.
Thank you, sir.
Any more discussion? Mr. Blake?
Maybe you can just update us now. What is the construction project, when it's going to end? What do the timelines look like?
As of now, as we award the project, we'll have a start date on the project of March 1st will be the actual start date. Before then, we'll have some meetings, pre-construction meetings, and of course, there's been a lot of work done on the front end before the bid even goes out, as far as survey work and testing and that sort of thing. We are looking at about a 20-month window, roughly, for the complete project. Therefore, is one of the main reasons why we set the modulars where we did, and we'll be using those to transfer students and classes into while we work on the building. So this will be a full 20-month project with work not stopping.
We're all looking for the end of 20 months.
Yes, sir, we are.
Thanks for your efforts, all of you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Shelley?
Thank you. So having to go back to the bid process, how far behind did we get?
In theory, it set us about 2.5 months to 3 months behind where we would like to have started. Because it did change that aspect, we've gone into the first schedule, the first phasing, and changed some parts of that, so hopefully the whole project is not backed up 2 months or 3 months. So we're trying to make that up on the front end. And with this being that shorter summer or time period, we had to do some of that anyway. So overall, I don't think in the end we'll notice a difference in where we're ending at from where we started.
Okay, and then one more question. So you said you've done a lot on the front end before. So if that means like pulled permits and that type of thing, those have all been taken care of with the county?
We are currently working with the county. We have been for several months. The list of permits for this type of project is pretty extensive. We have, along with BCWH, the architects, we have other engineering firms on board. Timmons is one of them. We are getting our water management permits, all of those things intact. So we are working with the county on a daily basis. We've done a lot of the survey work and all that, soil testing, building testing, materials testing has all been done. So by March 1, we should be in pretty good shape to start doing whatever needs to be done on that day.
Dr. Mayer?
I just want to say thank you for all the hard work that you as a team have accomplished. It takes an awful lot of synchronization and working together to achieve what you have accomplished, and working with, with the principal and with, all the stakeholders, students and staff. And the blessing is that having those modulars in place the way they are, you can go 24/7 if you had to.
Yes, sir.
And the weather's not going to be a factor in this situation like you would if you were doing an elementary school from ground up. Then you're really relying on the advantage or disadvantage of weather. You're not going to have that. So 20 months seems very doable. And congratulations to a well-planned, well-designed project. I think we're all looking forward to the end and seeing, the results of what you've illustrated in your video, and I think we'll all be very pleased when we get 20 months from now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Mrs. Blako, would you like to join us for 14.07, adoption of AP Human Geography and AP World History textbooks?
I would. Good evening again. In accordance with our local textbook adoption policy, IIAA, Spotsylvania County Public Schools has reviewed and selected 2 textbooks under consideration tonight. For AP Human Geography, we have The Cultural Landscape, an Introduction to AP Human Geography, 12th edition. Strengthening readers' connection to geography through active discovery-based learning, The Cultural Landscape, an Introduction to Human Geography, emphasizes the relevance and geographic concepts to human challenges. The relationship between globalization and diversity is woven throughout. The 12th edition challenges readers to apply geography tools and techniques to their local environments, bridging the global and local, and getting students to interact with their local geography. New applied activities and debate features, as well as integration of BBC video and to eText 2.0 to further strengthen this curriculum selection. We also considered AP World History, Strayer Ways of the World, 3rd edition. It's aligned to the AP World History redesign, and the textbook and e-reader includes a brief by design focus that focuses on significant global and historical trends, themes, and developments in world history. The 3rd edition includes digital tools, and including something called Learning Curve, which is an adaptive quizzing engine, and Launchpad, the interactive ebook and course space. It is administration's recommendation at this time that the school board adopts and purchases the AP Human Geography and AP World History textbooks as presented.
I will move the motion to approve that recommendation.
Motion by Mr. Blaine to approve the purchase of the textbooks.
Second, please.
Second by Ms. Shelley. Any discussion? Mr. Blaine.
You've talked about e-readers and text and so on. Did you consider electronic textbooks, not printed ones? And what is your thinking of, because you've elected the hard copy, apparently. What is your thought there and rationale?
Actually, Mr. Blaine, every time we look at textbooks, we really consider both options, and we always consider both, knowing limitations both here at school and also in the community to, device access, bandwidth access, so we have to consider both. And so we typically purchase a blended course environment. So you have both the textbook and the online platform. And typically, I will share that publishers really bundle their product that way anymore. There's really not clear savings on adopting just the digital platform because they too want you to purchase their book. So a lot of the savings is pennies, and they are bundling that way so that you automatically have access to both.
That helps, your last statement from the publisher stand. I can see where they would be doing that. I guess basic to my concern is that we think so often of people that don't have access. And still, when I'm out talking to people, in almost all cases, they have figured out some way to get access to Wi-Fi almost wherever they are, and I was in hope that that was not the basic reason, so.
No, sir, and including just our students in school, access to devices, and then our support folks, our ITAs, to help support the many devices that we have in schools. You know, both of those are key to making sure that the students have access even during the school day.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Ms. Shelley?
Well, I can say I know for sure that prices of books, hard copy or e-books, are very similar because of the grad classes I'm taking, and I might save $8, if that, by getting an e-book, but then I can't highlight and make my notes. So I understand what you're saying with that. And you did say both of these books do have the e-version as well?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Thank you.
And I just want to let Mr. Blaine know that there's actually a bill in the legislature right now that's going to make it so school boards cannot adopt electronic versions only unless they can guarantee access for all students in the community. So since our community does not have broadband installed, we would not be by law allowed to do that.
That's reasonable. I'm glad to hear that. Did you just?
I'm glad that we work that way anyway. That wouldn't be a big change to our purchasing schedule.
Did you just say in answer to the question that we're getting both electronic and
Yes, sir.
hard copy of the book? It's, yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
On to 14.08, approval of the FY 2019 school board operating budget and the 2019 and 2023 capital improvement plan. And we have a motion for approval to start discussion.
I will make that motion, Madam Chair.
Motion by Dr. Meyer to approve the recommended budget.
I will second.
Second by Mr. Blaine. And I will lead off the discussion. Just want to make some corrections to some earlier comments and just a brief summary so that the audience has the numbers. I just want to point out, contrary to what was mentioned earlier, our health insurance is October 1st to September 30th for employees. And the modernization of the health insurance policies was because each year we face double-digit health insurance increases, which are huge restraints on our budget. And it makes us so we have to continue to cut and make cuts to programs that our students need just so we can pay for the health insurance. So we have to make sure that we are responsible with these dollars that we're given, and so we can give the most to the students. So we have to be frugal with the health insurance as much as we can. It is a response to a $1.8 million increase for FY19. And the impact of the hybrid model that we discussed in the last work session was only $68.78 for a family on the expanded. So those were not the numbers that were cited earlier. So I just wanted to correct that. And I just wanted to give a summary of the last version of FY19 budget that we have in front of us. And there are some just basics to keep in mind. Our ADM for this year and future years is projected to increase. That's our average daily enrollment. Our VRS contribution, luckily for this year, which is the requirement contribution, which that rate is set by the state, luckily for the first time in many years, is decreasing. So we are seeing some savings there, which we were never realizing those savings before. Our local composite index, which is localities' ability to make up the difference from the state funds, did go up slightly, as we tend to see that happening each year, which is a restraint to our budget. Our health insurance, of course, as we previously discussed, went up again by $1.8 million, and it's expected to go up each year, which is why we were forced to look at modernizing our healthcare. So we actually have some facts and some good news that state funding is looking to increase for the reasons of the ADM increasing, also from the legislature supporting public education a little more, hoping that that goes through. So The FY19 budget, less CIP operating budget is $300.3 million. It is a $10.9 million increase over 2018, or 3.7%. This budget includes an increase to stipends, no activity fees, expanding the Activity Bus pilot program, increases sub rates, helps with our custodian transitions, includes a $6.8 million first or 3-year plan to modernize our salaries, which includes a 4% increase to teacher salaries and a 2% on others. After the bring to minimum is applied, there are 60 plus positions added this year, with a potential for 60 more the following year. The operating fund is 85.1% compensation and benefits. Non-comp is 14.9%, which we were able to increase slightly on last year, which is an important thing because since 2008, we've had to little by little cut non-comp, which is a very important part of our budget, which goes directly to the school buildings. So the more we can put back into non-comp, the more the teachers and the children will see it directly. This represents a gap of $3.462 million that we hope that our local Board of Supervisors will support funding to help us meet all of our goals. And the gap is, as I said, rather small number with everything we've been able to accomplish. So I would like to, with those numbers out there, ask for any further discussion. Dr. Meyer.
Madam Chair, I made the motion to approve this budget because I think it merits our support. It provides a much-needed 3-year compensation plan for our staff, our teachers, and our support staff. We've been describing for several years the problems that we're having with our multitude of different salary schedules, and how do we address the inconsistencies that are there even on the teacher salary schedule. And last year we participated in a plan study. We've received the study. We've asked our superintendent to come up with a plan. He's come up with a 3-year plan as to how we can address. And we have a significant problem in acquiring our teachers and holding on to our teachers. And we know this is a statewide, nationwide, and we've come up with a plan to do that. And I think the plan that the superintendent has presented to us is a very commendable plan. It's a doable plan. It's not trying to do everything in 1 year. It's a 3-year plan. When we take a look at our health insurance, as you mentioned, it is difficult to come up with a game plan when costs continue to increase, and at the same time, we know we can't continue to go down the path that we have been going down. It's a paradigm shift that we're trying to make. It's a change in thinking that's going to require some education on the part of our employees, because you can't just continue to pay it through the premium side and expect without taking a look at the benefit side. We can't continue to increase the premiums and disregard, how those benefits are paid for, how they're accumulated. There has to be ownership in that process. And we made a step in that direction looking at the deductibles, increasing it slightly, and thereby decreasing the premium. We took a look at the plans, and the amount of usage out of the 200 plan was minimal. So that's the reason that there is a change in that design. And the superintendent has made some very good recommendations, as we've talked each year, on how our student body is changing and what are the needs of those students. The whole issue of equity versus equality. We're trying to, with equity, you address the students where they are. It doesn't mean everybody gets the same. It's where are the needs. And we've been focusing on that, and the superintendent has come up with a good staffing recommendation. We've also asked him to address, the bus pilot program, which he did, and we ran the bus pilot this past year. He is proposing that that be expanded. Sunsetting, as we've talked about, Mr. Braswell has harped on that for years and years and years, and we've been working at it over these last several years, and now we have an opportunity to sunset those. So with all the things that we've included in this budget, which I think is a very doable budget, I know we still have some outstanding numbers that we're going to wait for the House and Senate versions and then wait until the General Assembly finishes. But this is a plan, this budget is a plan that I think we should wholly support, and I definitely give it a thumbs up. And I'm asking my fellow board members to likewise support this budget that we can present to the Board of Supervisors. We know it's a step in the direction that we want to go, and it's a very doable step. So with that, I yield my time. Thank you.
Ms. Phelps, would you like to, I'm just going to go down the line.
So I just wanted to say I received emails and phone calls from teachers and other paras and other staff members regarding the FY19 proposed budget. And so I went over a lot of the emails that I received and phone calls. And I just want to share something right now with everybody. And this is an email from a teacher, and it's quoted, that's been a teacher here for a long time. And she's a great teacher. And she sent me an email, and I'll just quote what she said. According to the superintendent's budget presentation, his #1 priority is employee compensation. Well, employee compensation to most employees is the whole package, benefits included. That means health care included. It is not okay to flip up salary by a little and then make changes to health care, so the employee is just staying at status quo, or worse, losing out. That's heavy for me. And it wasn't just one teacher, it wasn't just one para, one secretary, bookkeeper. And so I just wanted to share that with everybody. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Mr. Braswell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be voting in support of the budget for a variety of different reasons. And first and primary reason is that it ties in directly with our strategic plan. We right now are in a situation where we have to compete for very scarce resources, and they're teachers. Not only do we have a national shortage, but we have a shortage of teachers in this general area, and we have to compete with our surrounding counties for those limited resources. And so we have to make the main thing, and we have to dedicate our resources towards the most valuable resources that we need in order to meet our mission requirements. And that means that we need to have teachers in the classroom, and teachers in the classroom that are qualified and ready to present instruction. The empirical basis for the pay raise is backed entirely by a third party, the Evergreen study, that is the basis for the presentation. Now, I agree with Dr. Baker in that instead of implementing it all at once, which would create a financial boondoggle, to say the least, he decided in a wise way to incrementally implement it over 3 years, which makes great sense. Just like when we decided to sunset the activity fee, we did it incrementally over several years so that the impact of the decreases would be absorbed and minimized. So to make sure that we made ourselves competitors to get the scarce resources that are available in this area with strong competition around us for those resources, I think we selected the most strategic and effective way to make sure that we were in the catbird seat. So I tip my hat to Dr. Baker and his staff for implementing the Evergreen study in that way. I also want to address the issue of health insurance. I do it for a living. I've been an insurance man for 25 years, and I have a pretty good understanding of insurance. The biggest problem with insurance is that it gets demagogued to the point where people don't understand what are the benefits and what are the premiums. The premium is driven by a couple factors, as always, the deductible, and your plan design has a great impact on premium. It makes no sense to have a deductible plan with a $100 deductible today. It's obsolete. We're paying way too much for our health insurance, and we're requiring our teachers and support staff to pay entirely too much for that health insurance. Now, why do you say that? Well, if you save the premium on the front end, then when it's time to make your deductible, if you even use it, then you would have saved an awful lot of money, not only over the year, but over the life of that life insurance, that health insurance. It makes great sense to take advantage of the deductibles and employ them in such a way where we can save premium and use more cost-effective ways to mitigate costs to the employees in terms of co-payments, which most people use when they go to the doctor anyway. So with that being said, we have to educate our employees to understand that they need to use innovative new health insurance products, not only to save them money in the short run, but save them money in the long run. I understand that change is uncomfortable for a lot of folks, especially when you're comfortable using something. I've been saying for years, I have this cell phone, and it is really old. And I'm one of these days I'm going to have to tell my son to just drag me screaming to the store to upgrade Dad, because there's so much I can't do with this phone. And what I'm saying to our employees is there's so much that we cannot do doing things the same way, expecting a different result. We all know the definition of that, and none of us are defined in that way. So I just say we have to stop demagoguing the health insurance. We have to be open-minded, and we have to take advantage of the innovative products that are available, not only to save money in the short run, but also in the long run. We have to position ourselves to get the limited resources that are available. Today is the time to do it. It costs us more money later if we run behind. So we need to make sure that we target our teachers in such a way that we have access to that most valuable resource. Now, with that being said, all of our other employees are very valuable too. And the problem is that it's been demagogued in such a way that they saw the 2% and assumed that they're not, that we are devaluing their service. But when you implement fully the Evergreen study, a lot of these people that are getting 2% are getting a heck of a lot more just to make sure they're at parity. So their actual gain is somewhere in the neighborhood between 7 to 10%, depending on what they do and where they were on the study. So I think we have a really good plan, and I believe that it needs to not be demagogued in such a way where we miss the mark because we're worried about numbers that haven't been fully operationalized in a way that you can understand them. And finally, I want to say, yes, for years I've been waiting for the activity fee to be sunsetted. In my opinion, it is the worst regressive tax that we've ever imposed on the citizens of Spotsylvania County. It has an impact on middle-class families, from lower middle class to upper middle class, and it is a very regressive tax. And so I'm so delighted that this board is at the point now where we can sunset that fee and allow students to take full advantage of the greatest multiplier that they have is the ability to participate in extracurricular activities so that they can be better students and better citizens in our society. Their parents spend so much money right now just to prepare them to go to college and to take advantage of other activities that are numerous. You don't even have to talk about the athletic parent. Let's talk about the parents that have children in band or other activities. They spend an enormous amount of time and money, and we need to help mitigate some of those costs so our kids can participate in these great multipliers for education and spend time with the best and brightest teachers that want to give of their time so that they can make them into great young men. I had an opportunity to go to a dedications, a memorial service for Coach Brown. And as I sat there and listened to all the testimonies of these grown men and how Coach Brown had an impact on their lives. And I was just so honored that I had an opportunity to meet him. And I was honored that that they had an opportunity to experience somebody in their life that cared about them. And I'll share this with you. I had an opportunity to get a letter from a young man that I coach, and he is in the Coast Guard today. Not the Coast Guard, but the Merchant Marines, excuse me. He's in the Merchant Marines today, and he's a captain of a Merchant Marine ship, and he's driving that ship all around the world. He's been around the world 3 times already. And what a great experience from someone that matriculated through Spotsylvania County Schools, and that young man's only 26 years old. So I just say to you, the things that we do are very valuable for our students, and I'm so excited and delighted that Dr. Baker made the main thing the main thing. Thank you.
Mr. Twigg?
My greatest concern tonight is that I'm being asked to vote on a $331 million budget that was first presented to me just 14 very short days ago, a couple of budget sessions in between, and then finished being presented just 7 days ago. And because I understand business, I do want to understand details, which takes more time than that which was allotted here, albeit the complexities of this year's budget. And since this budget's $331 million price tag for our schools is approximately 60% of our county's entire budget, my constituents in Livingston most certainly deserve both a voice and their questions answered. And this, too, takes more time than was allotted here. In speaking with teachers and other school employees over the past 2 weeks, their greatest concern is how the increase in their health care costs will affect their net pay. And I agree that we need more pay for our teachers, and we certainly need more staff, but we do need to be sure that we do it in such a way that it results in a positive net increase in pay. That is our present imminent challenge. And we have to remember that all of our annual budgets affect people's lives and their livelihood. The process has not allotted enough time for me personally to obtain statistics to ascertain how our employees would be affected. For instance, how does the change in insurance cost affect our bus drivers and our maintenance workers? I'm concerned that the proposed budget, given their salaries, will result in a net decrease in their income. And this should have been fixed before we authorized this budget for county approval. Given our timeline, again, this can't or couldn't happen. Therefore, until we, the board, optimize our insurance costs and pay, then budget as many teachers as we possibly can, all priorities, mind you, I will be reserving my approval. Thank you.
Mr. Blaine?
I'm going to be voting yes on this budget for several reasons. First of all, I want to compliment the superintendent for bringing a reasonable budget forward. It would be nice if we could say we're 100% in favor of every single thing that's in the budget, and it never works out that way. A lot of things are compromises, including health care and money applied to income and so on. But this budget handles many of our problems. I'd like to correct one thing. I happened the other day to be looking at the accountant's report to the county, and they say that we receive 49% of the county budget, not 60%. You can double check that if you like, but that does make a difference. I'm enthused about the budget. As I talk to people in our employment, the people sitting here in this room and in schools and so on, and with parents, I'm constantly impressed at the numbers of people and their attitude about our division. They're very pleased. We have a terrific reputation, and this budget will help us maintain that, and especially as we go out trying to hire teachers, for which there's a real shortage, a good, solid income base for teachers is going to be very attractive, and I think that we've have enabled that. As we go down the road, I think there's two areas that I'm going to be interested in the next budget, and that is, as Mr. Braswell has done an outstanding job in pushing the athletic fees with terrific rationalization, and I think you deserve, Mr. Braswell, a compliment for that. I think it's now time for us to pay attention to the other end, and I would hope that we can put together a program that can increase the numbers of preschool children that we're training, so that when they come to school, the principal doesn't say, how many books has the child ever had, and the parent says, he's never had a book in his hands. And we hear that too often. So that's where one of my areas of interest is. The other going forward is going to be, how do we address the problem of dual enrollment so that we can get more of our young people getting dual credit and go down to German and have already a year ahead of completed, or into a four-year university and have completely 2 years. And there's ways that I think that we'll be able to do that if we can encourage teachers to go back to school and get a master's in their own area of expertise. So I'm planning to vote for that, and looking forward to that. Thank you.
The Vice Chair and I are reserving our comments till after we hear from Dr. Baker.
Thank you. I'll try to be brief. I want to thank the folks that have come out tonight and shared their voices on the budget, as well as some that have come out in previous work sessions, and those that I have and my staff have had the opportunity to interact with throughout not only the last 14 days, but some over the last year and some over the last 5.5 years. I appreciate everyone's sensitivity and openness to what is best for our employees, and the proposal that I will own the proposal. My staff helped, but this was the superintendent's proposal. And I certainly appreciate other ideas and better ideas. I also appreciate if the board individually or collectively have constraints they would like to be built into budgets, such as not increasing health insurance costs for employees. I am open to all of those. But the one thing that I will share as dispassionately as I can is that I do know that my staff and I, and we should do this, but we spend a lot of time listening. And what you do realize as you listen is that you can always communicate better, but you cannot necessarily create a budget proposal that will please everyone. And I desperately was hoping that this proposal would be closer than the others that I've had the opportunity to present and share in. But I do say this in all sincerity, as I alluded to at the last budget work session, and I'm appreciating the thoughts of 5 board members that have already shared. And I shared this with a parent advisory that I work with. I'll share it with teachers that I work with other staff and support staff, all of whose roles are critical to the education, the learning, and the lives of our children. You have my complete support if you would like to find a way to, whether it's through, and these are the options that we look at. In terms of options for budget capacity or having the ability to do more with our money, is either to find ways to reduce costs or to gain more funding through state, local, and federal revenue streams. And what I find have experienced is that there is no magic way to find the right amount of additional funding that you need to provide for all of the needs. What I and we attempted to do was to always make sure that at a minimum, all of our employees receive a 2% pay increase. We also engaged in a study and in listening, not only over the last year, but over the last several years, if we are to do a study and see how we compare at different scales and in different ways to the market. By all means, I have heard resounding that we should try to implement such recommendations and request support at the state and local level, particularly to help fund that. We've tried to do that over a 3-year period to make sure that the cost is within reach, as well as being able to sustain that, so that instead of our employees and our students and our school communities wondering what will next year be, that maybe at least for 3 years, there's a good idea of what that's going to look like and that we're building something for the future. We did ask the employee compensation focus group that I asked our folks to form 3 years ago to try to give a critical look at our need to lower health insurance costs so that we could have more budget capacity to increase salaries across the board. But I also have received feedback from a number of employees that any of those solutions would be very difficult for them given the plan that we have, or the plans that we have. As a board, whatever you decide to do, I just ask that you consider uniting strongly behind that approach. If that means that we will not increase health insurance costs at all for employees, then that's certainly fine, as long as you consider, can that be sustained over time? And if it can be, then you do that. You can also determine that all employees deserve more than 2%. I do have a little bit of a number, and I appreciate some of the feedback we've received, and we'll continue to try to communicate this better than obviously some folks feel that we have over the last 3 work sessions and probably again tonight. But I do want to share that I have in front of me we have a total number of employees, approximately 3,100. The employees that are currently on a teacher pay scale is approximately 1,810. So that leaves 1,290 non-teachers. The classification study for non-teacher impacts 594 of those employees. Of this amount, approximately 400 would receive 2% or higher. Again, these are still only estimates. So only 194 of 194 of those 594 would receive 1% or less. So that leaves 696 non-teacher employees, support staff, critical support staff, that would receive no pay increase as recommended by the classification study. So again, I was trying to determine what was sustainable in proposing that, making sure that there was a minimum, but did not go into it with the idea that it was all the same for everyone, because even when we consider health insurance, We do receive feedback each year from employees who do not access our health insurance that they feel as though they are not being able to see increases in their pay because of the impact of health insurance costs that we have not considered. Other counties that get mentioned, even one tonight, and its budget process have changed to lower cost plans over the last few years. Tonight, I'm not advocating anything other than what we have discussed, but I just encourage this board to unite behind solutions and ideas. And if you have better ones moving forward, I think we are all ready for you to act on those. And if that means a larger funding gap, if it means making cuts again, then I encourage you to suggest to me and to our staff where that might be best applied. But I will close again where I sort of began. I do listen and will continue to listen. And if I really could make it happen, all of our employees would see a much larger increase, as well as all of our resources that we need would be funded in 1 year versus 3. But I'm not sure how to make that happen. But if you as a body would like to advocate for more in this budget or more in some areas and less in others, I encourage you to do that tonight and to share that because I am certainly in support of whatever this board believes is the best direction going forward.
Ms. Shelley.
Thank you. Before I mention my budget comments, I want to read a letter that was shared with me from a student who wants to become a teacher. She had to write an essay about why she wants to become a teacher. And it is a former Spotsylvania County student, so she's speaking of a Spotsylvania County teacher. And if I tear up, I apologize. This is very moving. When I think of a teacher, I think of an important role model that helps a child not only learn, but also helps the child build the life skills that they can carry with them for the rest of their lives. In my mind, teachers need to passionately embrace their responsibility to the community and society to assist young students into maturing into well-educated and respectful human beings that will serve the nation and world as involved citizens. In the 3rd grade, I had a teacher that completely changed my world. My permanent teacher was out for an extended period of time on maternity leave, so we had a substitute teacher that took her place. Around the same time, my young life was impacted by a dramatic event when my mother was arrested for driving while intoxicated with me in the car. It was her 3rd DWI in less than 4 years, and needless to say, my mother's alcoholism wreaked havoc on our family. As an 8-year-old girl, I was traumatized by the sight of my mother being handcuffed and taken away in a police car. Thankfully, I had a father who provided me great love, compassion, and support to help me through this terrible time in my life. Almost as important, though, was the compassion of my long-term substitute teacher provided me. At first, I was terrified to go back to school. I was afraid that the other kids would know what happened to my mother and tease me about it. Even worse, I knew I would be surrounded by kids who had stable and loving mothers, which would only reinforce my feelings of betrayal and abandonment. What I didn't realize was that my sweet teacher would be so empathetic and kind. She sat with me at recess, held my hand in the hallways, and hugged me when I cried. It was with a loving family and caring teacher that I was able to cope and feel wanted and secure in my life. To this day, I think back to the kindness and love that poured out of Ms. Teacher's heart. I can now reflect back and understand that being such a teacher is what I want to do with my life. It saddens me to consider that there are so many children and young adults in the world that don't feel loved or lack, and basic support needed to evolve into mature adults. I want to play a role in making a difference in those lives. I know I can help and comfort others in needs. Being a teacher requires not only a myriad of educational tools, but also the ability to teach life skills. You must be patient, well-trained, respectful, etc. In addition, being a teacher requires one to make sacrifices. I know I do not yet fully appreciate all the challenge of a teaching profession, but I'm willing to make sacrifices to help every one of my students to learn and grow as persons. At the end of my career, I would like to look back and think that I gave every child a chance to learn and the chance for them to become whatever they want to become in life. I want to finish my career knowing that these great expectations can be met. Every child should be feel loved, educated, and self-assured. And then it goes on to talk about more of why she wants to become a teacher. These are our teachers in Spotsylvania County. Yes, that was a long-term substitute. She is still a teacher, and thankfully we are offering our substitutes a little bit more of a pay increase. Our teachers deserve, all of our staff deserve. But what I want to say is we are proposing a pay increase to our teachers and to other staff members that may not be quite as high. And we do have health insurance issues. But what do we propose? We need to propose, if we don't think we don't want to have that health insurance increase, then propose we pay for it, we cover it. That costs money. We have gone to our Board of Supervisors for the last at least 6 years. We have been fully funded maybe twice, I think. We've gone to them and we've not received our funding. That's why we are behind. Last year we went to them and they were questioning us about our health insurance because our health insurance went up. Well, this year we're saving $1 million plus with this health insurance plan. If we don't want to do, I don't want to charge our employees more for health insurance. But we could say we're not going to raise it, but it's going to cost us money. Right now we have a $3.5 million gap. Do we want a bigger gap to go to our supervisors? We've gone with a bigger gap before. But this is like what Dr. Baker said. We need to propose something. We need to come together. We have to go and ask for money. We do not have our own funding. And I'm speaking to my board. We do not have our own funding. The public knows we do not have our own funding. We receive our money from taxes, federal, local, state. What other revenue? It's federal, state, and local. Then we have a little bit of other revenue coming in. Our federal revenue is going down for next year. Our Board of Supervisors, is being proposed a little bit over level funding. Last year we were not proposed over level funding, but we did get it. The years before we have not received what we have requested. One year we received $17,000 extra over level funding. One year we wanted a 2% COLA for our employees, and it was a match through the state. And we went with that asking for a COLA for our employees, 2%. We would pay, the county would have to pay 1%, and we would get the other 1% from the state. We did not get that money from the county. So that was another year that our employees did not get a 2% COLA. We have not been able to put in any steps, pay increases. It's been COLA, COLA, COLA. Luckily, we have been able to do that over the last few years. But if we had, it all costs money. Sadly, it costs money to be able to do these things. I would love to be able to do them, but going to our supervisors, if we want to go with a bigger gap, then let's bring it up. Let's say it. But if we don't want to go with a bigger gap, then I'm going to approve this budget. And that's what I have to say.
I want to emphasize a few items. One, our health insurance costs are approximately $40 million a year annually for Spotsylvania County Public Schools. $40 million. It's a very large part of our budget. Thus, keep in mind the modernization of our health plans is to provide employees with a variety of options based on their medical needs and financial resources. We realize that one size does not fit all. Therefore, the Key Care Expanded and Key Care 500 are two viable options depending upon your needs. Option 1. If an employee wants to keep the same plan design, Key Care Expanded, they can by paying more. They are single only. The increase is $26 a month. Many employees have stated they are willing to pay more and to keep the robust plan. Option 2. Employees in August will have a chance to select the Key Care 500, where their monthly premiums for the single plan will go down by $66 per month. So if we just reach out, let people have some choices. There are thousands of Spotsylvania County public employees that are not on our health insurance plans. So they would like for their increases to go all in their pocket, and it will be as long as we keep focusing on that and we free up enough revenue to be able to fund the pay increases that were recommended by Evergreen. If I could reach into my pocket and give everyone a huge raise, I would. All Spotsylvania County employees are so very valued and important to the work we do for kids. But budget realities and market values determine the numbers we can apply to raises. They're done scientifically and fairly based on need and supply and demand, not on an opinion or ad hoc hominem political rhetoric. I've been fighting for staff and for teachers for over 4 years now, and we're finally starting to see that some members of the Board of Supervisors and most of this board are seeing eye to eye on staff valuations. This is another reason we used a neutral third party professional salary consultant, not anyone's less or unqualified opinions on the matter. I'm proud of the simple fact that we can report for the first time in years that we seem to have support in recognizing employee value, and it's here to stay. This is cause for celebration, not fodder for some negative political game that some people want to play all the time. The taxpayers are tired of obstructionist activism that seems to have no point to it but to work against our teachers and staff. I'm proud of the results we've gotten so far and will continue to fight for more funding for our schools to keep us competitive while always being mindful of the taxpayers who pay these bills. And with that being said, if there is no more discussion, I'll call a question.
Madam Chair, I think we should call roll call.
Roll call vote, beginning with Ms. Shelley.
Shelley, aye.
Meyer, aye.
Phelps, no.
Braswell, aye.
Twig, no.
I'm going to vote yes in a minute, but first I have just a couple of words I want to say because I want to look at next year for just a minute, where we're going after we have this budget. I took time to look at the state superintendent's annual report for Virginia for 2016. And it deals with sources of financial support for expenditures, total expenditures for operations, and total per pupil expenditures per operations. Spotsylvania County at the end of 2016 had 23,498 students. We ranked in size 13th. Our expenditure per student was $10,571. We rank 84th out of 132 school divisions in our contribution pupils per pupil expenditures. The state average, now ours is 5,571, state average is $11,745. And to put that in perspective, the state median household income in Virginia is $68,114. The median income in Spotsylvania County, where we live, $78,125. Median income, $10,000 more. As we put this year's budget to bed, and I'm going to vote that way, as I said, I want to just state my goal for the next budget season. If Spotsylvania, if we were able to increase our pupil expenditure to the state average of $11,745, we would move from 84th to 36th in ranking. We're among 132 divisions, as I said, that rank 84th. We will have to increase our annual investment to our children by $1,174 a year that we would have to find additional money for somewhere. We rank 13th in size among the county divisions. If we want to be more ambitious and achieve the rank of 13 in per pupil expenditures, we'd have to spend and increase our annual contribution to $3,166. So I'm just drawing the picture and some possibilities for us as we move ahead. And with that, Madam Chairman, I vote yes, and I'm very happy and pleased to do so.
Gramp, aye. Motion carries 5-2. Move on to 15.01, unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? Seeing none. 15.02, any new business? Dr. Meyer.
Just to mark your calendars, the Northeast Regional Forum is going to be held at Manassas Park High School, March 21st at 6 p.m. The Northeast Regional Forum, coming up on March 21st. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Seeing no other new business, a motion for adjournment? Motion to adjourn by Mr. Braswell, second by Ms. Phelps. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carried.